All right, ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is a very unique young man that I happened to come across while I was at the farmer's market here in Hawaii. And the very first thing I noticed about him was how vibrant and positive he was and how passionate he was about the products he was selling. And that's what got my attention. That was the first attention grabber. And then while he was explaining, he was even more passionate than when he appeared to be. And then we started talking a little bit, and as I got to know him a little bit better, it turns out he's doing a lot more interesting things than just the things that he was selling, which they already are interesting. And we're gonna dive into that. Today I have with me a young man by the name of Louis Antonelli. Pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the kind words. It's an honor to be here, and I'm grateful for the time and all the conversations we're gonna have.
Yeah, I mean, you've already shared quite a few interesting things with me before we start this podcast, and this is pretty much the main reason that we decided to have this interview, because he was telling me things that I would find very useful for many people around the world to get to know about. And first, let's start off from your background, and if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself so that the listeners and viewers can know who they're listening to. And
Absolutely.
Then we can dive right into all the details of the business that you're doing and also the farm that we're on here and how everything is. So
Yeah.
if you could tell us a little bit about the background, and then we'll dive right into it.
Guarantee, my man.
Yeah.
So right now we're in Kilauea, Kauai. We're in the sun. It's like February 3rd, and we have some amazing weather right now.
Yeah.
Really grateful for that. And yeah, we're on this really cool farm called Common Ground.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk all about that. But kind of the history and timeline is I started out in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
You too as well.
You were born there?
Born and raised.
Okay,
Which is
cool.
a nice place, but it's a city. You know, it's a
Uh-huh.
very dense place. Lots of air pollution, and completely different than this environment.
Yeah.
We would have to go to a park to go to
Yeah.
some nature like this. So born and raised out there for the first half of my life. Then I went out to college actually at the University of Hawaii, which is really nice.
Okay, what made you leave the mainland and then come out to Hawaii? Because
Actually,
there's a lot of good colleges in whether LA or around LA.
Right. Actually, for that exact reason was for this. For fresh air, clean food, good people.
So you've always been conscious of that since a young age?
Absolutely.
Which you already are still at a young age, which is also quite impressive that you're paying attention to all these things from this early on, because a lot of people, they start to notice it only after they get sick or after something happens.
That's a good point.
So how old are you now?
I'm 23 right now.
Very
actually.
nice.
Yes, so
Yeah.
that's a good point. Usually people get into health when there's a disease or there's a reason to,
Mm-hmm.
but I started off in LA just with like the vegan movement.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of everyone has been like raw vegan, and that's a big trend right now.
At what age did you start being conscious of those details?
Around high school, 14,
Uh-huh.
15, and then just learning about kind of conspiracies of our
Hmm.
food system and things like that at a very early age, and wanting
Like
to step
factory
back.
farming and whatnot?
Exactly, all
Okay.
the toxins that are in our grocery stores and
Mhm.
fast food, and so I went from like the standard American diet to veganism really quickly, and I felt great. I think everyone feels good when they start eating fresh
How'd you
fruits.
start those conspiracy research rabbit holes? YouTube, or some people
yeah.
were talking to you about
Actually,
it? Or?
a lot of, I grew up, I'm 23, so I was born in the year 2000, and so
Uh-huh.
Instagram and YouTube is such a
Yeah,
prominent
that helps
form
a
of
lot.
information, but a lot of it is misinformation. A lot of it is people trying to push their own agendas and
Mm-hmm.
ideology that's not really based in truth, in fact, and that's still going on today. So I was very naive back then and narrow-minded, so it's kind of good to have discernment when you're researching.
Did your parents play a role in this, or was this just you on social media?
The role that they played was that they were very stuck in the matrix in terms of, eating the standard American diets, just following that protocol, and me wanting to get out of that. So they didn't really have the same mindset as...
Do you have any siblings?
I have an older sister.
Okay,
Yeah,
is she on the same track, or?
She's been
standard?
health conscious as well,
Okay.
but I kind of took that holistic health route where they're still stuck in that kind of Western medical system route. And so I was learning about holistic modalities of using herbs and plant medicines to really heal yourself and detoxify your body. That's one part of Los Angeles, is that there's so many toxins in our water, in our food, in our air, especially in these dense cities. Like I worked at a water filtration store.
Oh, that's very interesting.
And so that was one of my first jobs, and because Los Angeles, people have to buy their water in 5-gallon containers and bring it home to drink it, because the tap is full of fluoride and chlorine and all those hazards, and people don't realize, because they're these invisible particles, that they don't taste like anything, even in your shower. So it's really good to get a shower filter, water filter, and drink, reverse osmosis.
Because your skin is your biggest organ. A lot of people think only drinking water is needed to be clean, but actually also the water you put on your body makes a huge difference.
Absolutely, especially in your hair, really affects your skin, your epidermal layer, and your probiotics that are on your skin as well.
You're saying a lot of details that that's not very common for a person of your age, which is something that I highly respect. And I look forward to see what you're going to be in 10 years from now, because you're already on a very good start.
I appreciate it.
And let's circle back to the university. You decided to come to university in Hawaii because you were already aware of everything that was happening in LA.
So I looked at the map of America and I said, which place has the best and cleanest air and cleanest water and a good environment that's actually conducive to human health. Because being under artificial light in a concrete jungle without any nature like this, it's very difficult to really thrive.
I mean, here everywhere is nature, and there's little houses in between nature. In LA, it's the opposite way around. It's all infrastructure and then some nature here and there.
Exactly.
So we had to get out. You made the right choice.
Right. So I went to the Big Island in Hilo, which is a beautiful place. It's this old family town, really rainy, one of the rainiest cities in America. And it was really beautiful. It was nice to get out of the house, and then I studied environmental science.
In university?
Yes, and agroecology. Nice. So it's great because in Hawaii, you could throw a seed in the ground and it turns into a plant in a matter of days. So I studied that at the university there, did some research projects working with algae and like spirulina.
Oh, nice.
And I got into different health projects out there. And then COVID happened. So then I moved to Cal Poly up in Northern California at Humboldt, in which I finished my degree in ecology and soil science. So then I really narrowed my research down into focusing on environmental hazards, especially with agricultural, farm fields with all pesticides and herbicides. And then that kind of just led me down my path of just researching how these toxins are affecting our bodies, how we can get rid of them, and how we can get better foods from the right farms and clean environments to really feel our best selves.
So you studied the details of the process that the food goes through so that you can choose which ones are most conducive to our health.
Exactly.
That's very detailed.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And that's also something that is highly needed in this modern world that is full of chemicals. That,
of course,
for a person that's not as researched as you are, we might not understand what's going on in the soil. It could say, for example, oh, it's organic or it's non-GMO, but there's a lot more layers to it that you've studied, which a regular person that's not very detail-oriented in this specific field, they wouldn't be aware of it.
That's true. That's true. And I think a lot of people assume that green circle of USDA organic is safe, and there's that binary concept where conventional and organic, one is bad, one is good. And people think there's the villain and the hero, but really it's a lot more nuanced than that.
How so? Can you elaborate on that? Because I, for example, I'm not very aware of the details. Yeah. I'm aware of things that are organic and then GMO. But the details of the details, here in America, for example, you guys have a lot more layers than we do around the world. And I've noticed there's a big difference here, for example, between free range and then cage free, and then I'm talking about eggs. And there's a lot of labeling that goes on that has so much meaning to it. And if you can elaborate on what those layers are and how we can discern them.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Egg labels are crazy. That's a whole other world, brown versus white. And, but first off, there's the government wants to promote food production. So they're going to allow
food production in terms of factory farming or food production regardless of how you do it?
Regardless, yes. So that means their regulations are very relaxed. Because the more the government's going to regulate it, the less food that is going to be produced, that could lead to empty grocery store shelves. So that's why we subsidize corn and soy, and that's why meat is so cheap. So what that means for the USDA, certain organic practices can still use organic pesticides, organic herbicides, and still destructive methods.
But still using the label of organic.
Correct. Exactly.
That's very deceptive.
So, like copper sulfate, there's a lot of things that are used in the organic industry, especially in mass. For example, I went to a carrot farm in California, and the guy was showing me the conventional carrot farm. It was just thousands of rows of carrots, and then there was one buffer row of like hedges, and then thousands of rows of carrots, of organic carrots on one side. So conventional and organic, they look the exact same, they have the exact same methods, except one of them uses a conventional, cheaper pesticide, another one uses an organic, more expensive pesticide. It's the same exact thing, they harvest it, and obviously there's crossover, there's contamination, but people are paying a lot more of a higher price for that organic, even though it's technically the same. So for me, my kind of philosophy is not choosing either of them. Either growing your own carrots, which is very simple. We just sowed some seeds the other day in our garden, and or going to your farmer's market and buying from that small farm, not the one with 1,000 acres, but the one with just, a dozen acres, who's actually caring for the soil, adding minerals, adding organic matter and the nutrients that actually grows the sustenance that you were looking for in the carrots, and paying that extra dollar to that local farmer.
Because if you don't pay that extra dollar now in terms of better quality food, you're going to pay it later in terms of a doctor's bill.
Of course, absolutely.
And then that doctor's also going to give you other chemicals that might have other side effects that you're going to pay even more for.
That's true. That's true. And that actually goes into the point that we're not paying for the true value of food. So that conventional carrot field, each carrot costs that, a farmer a penny to grow. So he could sell it for, 30 cents.
Yeah.
And
he has a huge profit margin.
Exactly. So the real value of food, because the economy of scale is completely been cut down. And especially with shipping and transportation and whatnot, the actual impact that it has, whether it be on our ecosystem.
The shipping itself can add a lot of, depending on where it's being shipped to, that can also have a lot of chemicals that get put into the product or the produce so that it can stay quote unquote fresh until it reaches the destination. And that perhaps it was grown very well, but through the shipping process it became toxic.
Well said.
No longer as organic as it was advertised.
Right. And a lot of international food that comes into our ports has to be quarantined and gassed because
How so?
They're concerned of pests and pathogens entering our country and affecting our farmlands.
Yeah.
So any food from other countries is brought in and has to be quarantined. So then they gas it with noxious fumes that kill all those pathogens.
So any fruits that we get, let's say from South America or from Middle East or Europe or Asia, they all go through that process?
You could assume they do. Yes, it depends where, if they're processed and packaged, but a lot of our fresh food comes from Mexico, in America. It's just delivered by truck. And
so that doesn't go through that process if it's coming from Mexico?
Sometimes it does, but the USDA has kind of strict laws about that. And compared to other countries, which aren't using these chemicals or these methods, which that food could actually be better for you, from better soil, the moment that you get it here in America, it's lost those nutrients because of all the, the gassing, and obviously it was picked unripe months ago. So my philosophy is just eating local rather than having to source it from farms around the world, or even from these industrial organic farms. You want to support your local small farm that's really taking care of their environment.
So since you're talking about local farms, let's talk a little bit about where we are. We're in Kauai Common Grounds, and this is something I wouldn't have heard of if it weren't for you. So what can you tell us about this place, and how did you find it, first of all?
No, totally. Yeah, it's a pretty cool environment. So this place used to be a sugarcane plantation. Then it became a guava plantation. And all these buildings are these big warehouses that they used to process guavas. And then Common Ground took it over and has been focused on like farm-to-table dinners.
Okay.
And it's really cool.
So there's a restaurant here that people can come and attend, and you get the food from that restaurant is directly from this farm?
Exactly.
Okay.
So we actually have this really cool type of dinner in which it's 100% local ingredients.
Okay.
So it's kind of Common Ground's philosophy as well, is supporting local farms. And we get everything down to the salt and the oil, all from Hawaii. So the majority of it is coming from this farm. We get lots of herbs and vegetables and fruits. Then we get meat from our neighbor and just other fruits that are in season from the farmer's market. But it's cool because we get salt from the Big Island, and then in Maui they have sunflower oil that they press, and we make this awesome dinner that people can come check out. So
everything that a person would eat here is either from this farm itself, or maximum range would be from Hawaii?
Exactly. Actually, probably within a 5-mile radius of Kauai, besides the salt and the oil, which is really
special. Only the salt and the oil is from outside of Kauai. Everything else is from here.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And then so that pretty much supports everything that you were saying about first of all supporting your local farm, and second of all how clean your food is, so in terms of the shipping process and whatnot.
Correct, exactly. And so I actually found out about this place online. So there's this cool program called Wwoof-ing. So after college, I worked for the USDA for a little while for doing some regulatory compliance data for some companies here in Hawaii. But then, a 9-to-5 job wasn't my, cup of tea.
So you were an official employee of the USDA?
No, I was actually working as a consultant for a different company. And then I had the USDA and Hawaiian Department of Ag paperwork for them. So I was kind of back and forth between these different positions.
Okay.
And then I came here through a website called Wwoof-ing.
So can you tell us a little bit about Wwoof-ing? What is that?
Yeah, so it's this program. It stands for Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. And it allows people of any age to go travel for free and live on organic farms, which have the best soil and best food. So that's kind of why I do it, so I can eat that good food. And you can live here and get that food in exchange for housing, in exchange for work trade, about 20 hours a week of work.
So 20 hours a week of work in exchange for free housing. You don't pay rent.
Correct. Yeah. So room and board in exchange for working the land.
Yeah.
Which is really fulfilling because we got to take care of the animals and harvest all the food, and it doesn't even feel like work sometimes because you're out there in the sun and
you're learning too.
It's a learning experience. It's an internship, and it's a cultural exchange. So people from around the world are on that farm. So we have people from Germany and throughout Europe and Australia, and we get to learn about how they cook and live, and it's kind of a cool cultural exchange project.
So you just apply online, and then you see which farms are looking for help, and you apply to that. Yeah. And if they approve, they pretty much invite you over, and
you can stay for a day and just help out, volunteer, or I've been here for about a year or so.
Oh wow,
so it's been really cool.
So it can be as short as a day.
Exactly.
So if you want to travel around the world on a budget, you can just not spend money on Airbnb or whatnot, and then you can just do woofing.
Exactly, which is great. And it's so much more valuable because you got to live with the people. Usually we have these big communal dinners. We have all this.
It's more integrated touristic experience, even if you are a tourist.
That's correct. Exactly.
So I've never done that. That's why I wanted to. You're not promoting woofing, but it is something that is very useful, and it's good information for people who don't know about it to get to know about it.
Exactly.
For example, for a person like me that was living in the Middle East, and I've traveled around the world to many different countries, but I've never heard of woofing until I came here to America.
Yeah, Hawaii is a big place because Hawaii is so expensive for getting Airbnb or a hotel room. So a lot of people, international travelers who want to come here, eat tropical fruits and enjoy this land, and then also get free housing, which is great. And it's been really rewarding. I've actually done this volunteer program on about a dozen different farms.
Oh wow!
Even in
but
California.
One whole year here on Kauai Common Grounds.
Correct.
And before that, you've done it on a dozen other farms.
Yes. So I was on a vineyard out in like Northern California making wine, and then a goat farm as well. Then on the Big Island, a turmeric farm, a goat cheese farm, places like that.
That's very. So you've done all these things yourself.
Exactly. And so for me, learning about agriculture and soil science, whether it be like through textbooks, but mostly learning from the land and working with these plants and
first-hand experience.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much the most valuable form of experience.
Exactly.
And knowledge and learning about what you're studying.
Correct.
Because theoretical can be one thing, but when you actually have hands-on experience, you're more attuned to what you're actually doing, and it's no longer a theory. It's something that you've integrated into yourself.
Very well said. That's very true. Right.
And you said something very, very interesting about your work with the USDA. Let's talk about that job and what you've learned there, what you've seen, what you've experienced, and what's your overall opinion of the USDA? Because it's a very controversial topic there. Some people absolutely hate it, or let's say they just don't respect the standards that they follow. And other people might say, oh, it's extremely necessary.
Right.
So what's your take on that, and how was your experience working with them?
Yeah, it was a pretty unique job. I was actually a consultant for a company on Kauai that was growing a bunch of crops, and they had to submit their paperwork to the USDA. And so I was kind of the middleman to make sure that regulatory data was put through on time, as well as with the Hawaiian Department of Ag, which is like the state USDA. And the one thing I learned is that there's definitely a buddy system. There's a lot of, trust that's going on. And so if you're...
So it's like connections. Depends on who you know. Exactly. If you're my friend, I'm going to let it slide. Correct. If you're not, I'm going to be a lot more meticulous than perhaps I need to be.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so actually the entire state of Hawaii is kind of operating like that. Unfortunately,
it's like a mafia.
Government officials and stuff, it's all brothers and cousins of people you know.
But doesn't that make it seem very non-trustworthy for the consumer?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all money. And then one thing I've learned, not with my job, but just from speaking with people, is that the people who go to farms to check if they are organic can get paid off. So that's another thing.
I've also heard that in the restaurant business as well. I know some restaurant business owners. They say that the people who come and do quality checks, I forgot the exact term for it.
Right.
This was a couple years ago, and they say, yeah, if you just pay him a couple thousand, you just they're good.
Right.
And he didn't even come inside the kitchen. He did 0 checks.
Wow.
And you just pay him off some money. He says, yeah, this restaurant's okay. And if you don't pay him like pretty much a bribe, they can shut the whole thing down. Even if you're doing very well, but you didn't bribe the guy, he's gonna shut you down.
Yeah, this is great. They do that in like Mexico or these other places where there's so much corruption. But America, we should have certain standards of regulation that protects the consumer, whether it be a dirty restaurant or dirty food. But the fact that money is so influential that you corrupt a politician or corrupt any of these public workers, which is very sad because they're here to protect us. So it's sad that people with wealth and influence can get their ways, right?
And harm the consumer who is unaware of the details that are happening behind the scenes.
Exactly.
So you've seen that in the USDA, they're not as meticulous, and it's actually more of a, like you said, brotherly thing or corruption and politics.
Right. I haven't had enough time directly to come to that conclusion myself, to see it with firsthand evidence. I would love to present a case for you of the amazing corruption.
Through your work, through the paperwork that you were filing and the people you came in contact with, you did observe the essence of that. Have you seen something? You don't need to get into details. I'm not trying to get you in trouble here, but the essence of it, like you've seen that in action. It's not just a theory anymore to you.
And I think the biggest thing I saw, and I think everyone knows this, is that the government is slow and they're underfunded. I think
underfunded.
That's the biggest thing, is that they might be meticulous and great and detail-oriented and want to protect you, the consumer, but it takes months and years, and it takes budgets for approval that take decades.
But
and
there
Biden,
also is a
Trump,
lot of politics and corruption in that approval process, because the guy that's going to give the approval wants a bribe, and the guy that's going to make the plan wants another bribe, and the whole thing just extends. That's why it takes such a long time, although it could take, let's say, 2 weeks with real professionals, real people who are researched on this topic, and then they can handle that. But we keep on extending it over long periods of months so that the corruption can take place. Because if you do it really quick, now everything's tight. We don't have the space to negotiate.
Well said, right.
Yeah.
And another big concern is that heads of industry that are the companies that the regulatory agencies are trying to regulate are now quitting and working for these regulatory agencies. So the head of Monsanto worked for the USDA, the head of Pfizer, or one person worked for the FDA, and then all these companies, these environmental pollutant companies, are now working for the EPA. So there's this.
What is the EPA?
The Environmental Protection Agency.
Okay.
So they call it the revolving door. So it's just people coming in and out. And
if you stay in this job here for a couple years, gain some leverage, and then you come back and work with us, we're going to give you a specific salary so that you can pass this law.
Correct.
In our favor.
Right. Or if it's the other way around.
Because there was a very huge case against Monsanto with all the chemicals that they were putting in the food.
Of course, yeah. And there's hundreds of cases going on right now against all these different chemical industries. And so it's the same thing. So the company executives are working for the regulatory agencies, and the regulatory agencies then work for the company because they know the ins and outs of each of
That's also in the pharmaceutical industry as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like with what happened during COVID and whatnot. But that's another topic. Let's keep this episode more focused on food and the farm.
Guarantee.
So what else would you like to say about your experience in the USDA?
It was interesting to see, and the fact that our food system is so diverse. And like if you walk into the grocery store, you have ingredients from thousands and thousands of different farms. One burger has over 100 different cows in it. Each one of those cows can come from a separate farm with separate chemicals.
So the same one burger comes from multiple different cows?
Up to 100.
Wow.
And so each cow can be sold from a different rancher who's using different chemicals, different methods. So to truly know when you're at the checkout line at the grocery store that your food in your in your cart is good or quality, or you think you made the right choices, there's no true way to know.
So what's the point of the USDA then?
That's true. I mean, have you seen that movie Dark Waters? It was about the EPA and them suing Teflon, DuPont, and those chemical
It was an old
giants.
movie, right? Like more than 10 years ago, I think. I've
Yeah,
seen
recently,
something of that nature.
But I think to answer your question, these regulatory agencies are here to give us a false sense of security. So we feel that we're being protected. You know, that's we have these.
I would
giants.
also add to that the government.
Of
It's a
course.
false sense of security.
I
And
agree.
most of the time, they're actually making us insecure with the decisions,
Right.
the bad decisions that they're making,
Right.
so that they can keep making more profits.
Of course.
Which also reflects in the food industry.
Right.
It's just in one brand, let's say food, and then the same thing happens with the medicine, the same thing, which also food and medicine should be one branch.
I agree.
And then happens the same with infrastructure, whether it's construction and contracting, or with the regulation of the entire society. And
Right.
it's parts that make it function as a holistic group.
Right.
And you can continue. I
Yeah.
just wanted to add that to what you were saying,
Right.
connected that to the government as well, because
Yeah.
it's the same. It's the same principle at play.
Right. And different tentacles of the same octopus.
Yeah,
they
that's a
say.
very good way.
You
I
chop
usually
off
use it's it's about the bird. Different
two wings.
two wings of the same bird.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. The left
yeah.
ring, right ring,
Yeah,
same bird.
it's still the
Right.
same bird.
Yeah,
The guys
that's
at the center are the ones managing those two wings to give you the illusion that you have a choice, but you don't really have a choice. The guys
Exactly.
at the center are the one making the
That's so
choice.
true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And even when you walk into a grocery store, you think you have choice, but they're all owned by the same conglomerates. So I think before we talk about the government, oversight, it's also about corporotocracy. Right now, the corporations have so much influence and power, and it's not just here in 2024. This goes back to like the banana republics and
Dole has a literal military.
Literally.
It overthrew an entire country just to maintain its
for
dominance.
Chiquita bananas, like
Yeah.
literally Nicaragua,
Yeah.
massacres. It's crazy, and they used to have their
So
own.
that banana we have literally has a military behind it.
Literally, yes. And so, back in the 1800s, they had their own naval force.
Yeah.
And they would come in and they have their own trains and post offices and grocery stores.
Just to
and-
maintain their dominance over a specific section of agriculture.
Exactly. And the land that we're sitting
And
on.
that behavior is also extended to many other companies that do the same thing, just
Well
on a
said.
smaller scale,
Right.
and not to the extent that we would be aware of it.
Right. And it's a colonialist mindset, too, that agriculture, people don't realize, and the food system has such this powerful force over taking over labor and transportation and lands and resources. And the very land that we're sitting on right now was overthrown for the sugarcane plantation. This is the Hawaiian Kingdom, and then American businessmen, so talking about corporotocracy
Yeah.
in its origin days, came here and with support of the U.S. government, overthrew the Hawaiian Kingdom, and then President Dole was one of the rulers of that time over Hawaii, and it was sugarcane as far as the eye can see, and pineapples, and all that was exported to California to feed, the American population in the world. So, agricultural politics has a long history. Well, the bananas, and it's destroying the planet with the soil eroding and our waterways being
And also the
polluted.
banana tree is a one-time use, correct?
That's true, exactly. And it's all
So it's very I wouldn't say unsustainable, but it's not the most resourceful fruit that you can plant.
Of course not. No, absolutely. Especially in these tropical nations in which it's, all these chemicals are going directly into the drinking water, into the waterways, and
some plants actually help us clean that water that we're drinking.
Correct.
So that would be more holistic to be planting certain types of plants around the rivers, let's say, and the streams and whatnot.
Right.
And even near the water plant, instead of pouring all those chemicals to quote unquote disinfect the water, why don't
Right.
you just put a plant there that does that naturally? You're going to feed the plant on one hand, and you're also going to clean the water and make sure that it's actually living water.
right.
Which is something I learned recently with Micah Sky in the previous interview, and I didn't know the difference between living foods and non-living foods.
That's a good point.
And there's also this experiment that I saw recently where a person he lit a light bulb with water. He had 2 cups of water. One was living water, the other one was regular tap water. When he put the tip of the wire into the living water, the bulb lit up.
Yeah.
And when he put it into the other one, nothing happened. And that just also shows how important this water is for our human body, because our body is almost 70% water.
Of course. Right.
So that's something that is extremely important in terms of our daily life and also our progress in terms of humanity and our level of thought, our way of being together as a society.
Right, right.
Yeah, and this can branch off into many different diverse topics here, but let's focus on the USDA here. Yeah,
right.
and what you were saying about how this is like you said, a revolving door. That's where we stopped and branched off to other stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the main thing is, like, these, whether it be companies or regulatory agencies, they don't care about living food. They don't care about health. They don't
care about profit.
Exactly. Even the minerals in the soil is a good example. Is that
a lot of the times, maybe it's not just that they don't care. They're genuinely not informed.
That's true. That's very true.
So let's say his heart was in the right place.
Right.
But he doesn't know half of what you've studied in your university. And he didn't put the effort to reach out to a person like you so that he can make a better informed decision. So that I could give some space to government there, because there may be well-intentioned people,
right,
but either the corrupt ones gang up against them and get them out so that they don't ruin their little mafia that's going on there, or the person is just genuinely not that competent.
That's very true. Right, right. And I think that lack of understanding and education is something that we as the consumers can do. And we could demand better products from better sources.
How do we demand that?
I think, whether it be social media or just education platforms in which we can, focus on, hey, this farm is doing the right thing. Let's amplify their voice. Let's give them the money. Let's support their methods. And let's not fund or give our money towards these destructive farms.
So voting with your dollar.
Exactly. I think that's obviously one of the most powerful ways you could speak up nowadays, because the corporate system runs on the consumer choices.
But they also try to influence the consumer's choice, let's say through subsidizing a specific company, or when you have billionaires that have a specific agenda that they want to implement, like Bill Gates and his RNA that he's trying to put into the food now.
Oh yeah, right.
So, and he's pretty much the biggest farmland owner in America right now.
That's correct, right.
And that's a very big problem for people who want to maintain a certain level of integrity and connection with nature, which obviously he has no idea about. Or he has an idea, but he's not in alignment with what's in our own best interest.
Of course not, right.
And so you were saying voting with your dollar and supporting through farmers markets. And how else can people promote a healthier lifestyle for themselves and for others? And given your experience here, you have hands-on experience. What can you promote about this type of lifestyle and the differences you feel compared to another person that is on a standard American diet?
Right. I think taking sovereignty back and taking control over your food system, whether it be...
That's a big word.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And
many people don't even have that in their vocabulary.
Of course, right. I mean, in a modern, city, you have multiple different types of grocery stores with different price ranges, different sources, different marketing. One's better than the other. So it's, as a consumer, it's very confusing, and there's so much information out there about what food to eat, what food to avoid, doing this and that.
At one point, they were saying they lobbied for cigarettes to be promoted by doctors.
Of course.
And the same thing, there's also this milk conspiracy that the milking industry or the cheese and the dairy industry, sorry, they lobbied so hard with the US government to completely change the perception of the public towards their need of cheese and milk.
Interesting, right.
Yeah, I think there's a documentary about that. I don't remember the exact name, but I can put that in the description.
All right.
And so that goes along with what you were saying about lobbying and how it's a revolving door and how it's a brotherly thing where people cooperate together without actually doing the job that they were paid to do.
There's actually a gentleman named Edward Bernays, and he's, you're familiar, he's the father of propaganda and public relations, and Sigmund Freud's nephew, and he was the one who convinced women to start smoking cigarettes.
It's more classy. He pulled off a whole entire campaign to promote
Correct. And so ever since then, when companies can have figured out how to influence our subconscious and our psychology of what we want, because we still have monkey brains. We don't know what we truly want.
We're easily manipulatable.
Very much, very much. Whether it be through war or through choices at the grocery store. It's literally how we think.
And it's in every detail around you, because your brain is always registering everything you're observing without your conscious awareness of it, but it's still registered.
That's very true. And I've learned companies nowadays have psychologists hired on
colors.
the team.
The color psychology itself
Right.
programs, even with children.
Oh yeah.
They have certain colors to stimulate a child's brain to
Right.
desire that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right. And green makes you nice and calm and relaxed, and blue sky. Orange makes you hungry. And so, like, companies know this, and they use it to influence you. And that's a given. And so yeah, Edward Bernays, he even convinced the American public that fluoride in our tap water was a good thing. And I think that story is kind of fun to tell because the aluminum company had fluoride as a byproduct, and it was too expensive to throw it away. So they got Edward Bernays to sell it for profit to the municipal water systems. So they could actually put fluoride in our water, convince us it's good for our teeth, even though it's a neurotoxin and it's completely horrible for us. And get paid for that as well. So that kind of trend continues today with that thinking of, you know, getting rid of all the toxic waste, whether it be the biosludge on our soil of the farmland.
And the problem is not just with this level of con artistry, but also with the people that would defend that lie so passionately. Yet if they studied the history of it, they'd realize they just got finessed on a very deep level.
Right. And going back to your point that some people might have good values, good intentions, but they work for a company that has a position. And if you can't
your salary depends on you bowing down to that or following along and promoting that position.
Right. Whether it be a corporation.
So you researching that anything against that information is not in the favor of you getting a raise or getting more money or paying off your debt.
Exactly. Exactly. Right.
So there's a conflict of interest there.
Absolutely. That's very true. Yeah. And there was a doctor named Westin A.Price who was part of the Western, medical system as a dentist, and he then started researching things that went against the Western medical system, and he completely quit his job and quit his, entire practice, and started researching this and finding out that people with indigenous food systems around the world.
What's his name again?
Dr. Westin A.Price.
Westin A.Price.
Correct.
Okay, I'm going to research that.
Yeah, really cool story because he found out that all of our modern diseases, especially from dental diseases, heart disease, high cholesterol, is coming from the modern Western diet.
Which is high fructose and high sugar.
Yeah. Actually, back then, this was like 1930s, it was just white flour, white sugar, and processed and packaged food. Before we have the modern day, high fructose corn syrup and chemicals. That's a whole other chapter. But that the indigenous people who lived in Peru and in Mexico and up in Switzerland, he found that they had perfect health because they had their indigenous diet of eating like fish and eggs and organ meats and raw milk and things like that. So he went completely against his profession of the medical American industry to promote this.
That is a man with integrity, and that is honest to his job and is not just working for money.
Exactly.
Which is not very common nowadays, unfortunately, because of the consumer psychology. We just want to buy the new car, buy a bigger house, and get the new toys, the gadgets.
Right.
And we put our integrity to the side.
That's very true. That's
for
very
profit.
True.
And not only do we suffer individually, but also collectively, our overall standard just keeps decreasing and decreasing. And then we become even more enslaved.
Absolutely.
So it's not just when we overlook something and say, oh, what am I'm just one person, I can't make that much of a difference. If I do that, you do that, and then everybody else keeps doing that, that's a whole group of people that could have made a big change.
Right. But
it has to start at least with one person. And when I see you, for example, all the stuff that I'm asking you now, I wouldn't have gained this knowledge, which I would like to have, if you didn't take the initiative. So even if I just came here, but you've been doing this for years, we just met a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So I am very grateful that you've done all this work and didn't decide to be like the rest, so that when I have questions, you have the answers.
Beautiful.
So that's something that I would, first of all, I highly respect and appreciate about not just you, but everybody who is working on themselves and trying to learn more about how to be living in harmony and improve their health, while also sharing this information with people who like it. Because you could easily gatekeep all this information. You tell me, oh no, I worked so hard I studied so much and I spent so many hours and days of my life working hard to get this information. And for example, we're doing this interview for free. You didn't ask me for a single dollar. And a person with that level of knowledge might say, oh no, I'm only going to do this for this price, or they're going to gatekeep.
Right.
And that just keeps us in that vicious cycle of seeking profit over adding value to people.
That's very true.
And when you do add value, you automatically and indirectly will get the profit back. Yeah, for example, somebody, let's say in a high position that listens to you right now and what you're saying and your eloquence and your understanding of these details, you might just get a job through this.
That's
but
very good.
People
point,
might say, oh no, I want to get $1 for every single contribution I make.
Right.
And I don't think that's a very healthy place to be in.
Right.
I'm not saying you should be taken advantage of, but at the same time, it's always better to add more value than you take.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that concept of value is important because it's not just financial data in the moment of like, I want X amount of money now, but it's promotion. It's, sharing resources, sharing connections, because you're an amazing value to me, it's amazing to have this outlet to have this information.
I have
share.
specialties that I like to work on and develop.
Right.
We might not be the same in terms of our interests, but we both need each other's specialties.
Right.
For example, I have the camera, I can speak to you, give you a platform to talk and whatnot. And you're more comfortable in the farm. Let's say I might not be as comfortable. Right. So you can focus on that, I can focus on this, and then we both come together and we share that with the world. And that's how the government is supposed to be functioning.
Right.
And how the USDA is supposed to be operating in terms of getting people who are specialized in these topics to be making those decisions.
Very true.
And influencing the ones in their circle. I was going to say under them, but it's not really the right respectful.
There's a hierarchy to it.
Yeah. There is, of course, a hierarchy to it, but sometimes people with a lot more knowledge are unfairly at the bottom.
That's very true.
Because they're not from the right family, they don't have the right skin color, or they're not friends with the boss or whatnot.
Of course, there's always going to be special interests there. And for me as well, so I'm only 23, so what you're saying earlier is that like, I have a small set of knowledge and it expands by the day.
But you're far ahead many people, including me in terms of agriculture.
Yeah, certain subject, and you as well for subjects as well.
Yeah, of course. But in terms of agriculture, you've studied this in depth,
right?
And that's why, in terms of age, I wouldn't calibrate the value of your knowledge that you're sharing based on your age.
Well said.
It's also about your experience. You have a lot more experience than anybody, let's say in their 30s or 40s, where all they've done is just read books and use things in the laboratory.
Well said. Right.
Yeah. So you have hands-on experience. You've done it yourself, and you've seen what happens. You've seen the process. You have direct contact with what you're talking about. That's why I find it very valuable to ask you these questions and give you the space to talk about it.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And it's anecdotal knowledge, which has its own value compared to scientific data or other forms. And they say that phrase, you stand on the shoulder of giants.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to be born in the year 2000 with access to the internet and libraries and a magnitude of information that was researched previously that then I can synthesize and use for today's benefits, which is great. And before I can come out and outwardly express my knowledge in a way that I'm confident about, I have to use discernment and ask if my own truths are true, because I change my mind so often. Like I said, I was vegan,
which is very healthy.
Yeah.
So you were vegan?
Yes. Okay. So I was vegan for like 5-6 years, and I've told everyone to be vegan because obviously, factory farms are bad. Meat raises your cholesterol.
Your heart was in the right place.
Exactly.
But you were not misinformed, but not holistically informed.
Exactly. So my main point was that we think we know the truth, and then people are often adept, especially on social media, to share it without knowing the bigger picture. So for me, it's just like, week by week I learn more and more, and right now I eat lots of meats and organ meats, and I'm a big fan of saturated fat, cholesterol, and salt, which are demonized in the American world.
I'm huge on salt. I put a lot of salt on my food.
Salt is so beneficial, especially salt with minerals, and we have the Hawaiian salt here, which is really cool. So the main thing is you can change your mind, and that shows flexibility and have that ability to change.
And also honesty, like
of course,
to admit that you were wrong. Or maybe not wrong, but you didn't have the bigger picture, like you said, and now you have an upgraded set of information that makes you decide better decisions.
That's right. Exactly. Right. And one thing I was learning is just like our food and our supplements and all that stuff is completely filled with so much crap. And that's one truth, I'll never forget.
What can you say about supplements? Or let me phrase it this way. What is the value of taking supplements, for example, all the pills that we have, whether it's zinc, magnesium, etc., or even the protein powders and whatnot, in comparison to living 100% natural life on a farm?
That's a great question. And the thing is, behind us, we have every nutrient we need. We have, chickens and cattle and fruits and vegetables running around. So if you look at human history, for 500,000 years, we had all the nutrients in our environment, whether it be the fish or seaweed or salt, or in the mountains, hunting and gathering. And that's 500,000 years. And then agriculture came out 10,000 years ago, which is very recently, if you look at the timeline of human existence. So 10,000 years compared to 500,000. And that's when we started having grains and cereals and wheat and things like that, and was really industrialized those processes. And we had lots of bread. And
even a lot of the fruits and vegetables that we have today, they're not actually 100% natural. They're engineered to a certain degree.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Natural engineered, whether it be breeding, obviously.
Yeah, through breeding. I mean.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
also we do engineer like the Impossible Burger,
right,
that is
that's
supposedly that's a whole nother level of engineering. But also talking about actual foods, for example, there's types of rice that are not naturally occurring that we've bred, and also carrots. And there's this very potent and famous doctor. His name was Dr. Sebi.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, that's the person that I learned about sea moss through, and the amount of it has around 92 minerals, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. Yeah.
And your body is composed of 110.
Right.
I'm not exactly sure of the numbers, but that's the range, and that's a very powerful food to consume. That is not, we don't see that very often or very commonly. Yeah.
And actually, on the topic of minerals, is that going back to that subject of human history, we would get our minerals from fertile soil and the ocean and spring water.
How do we get those minerals?
Just from the food, from a wild bison is eating the grass from the minerals in the soil. It's going to the grass, going to the bison, and then the hunter-gatherers would eat that and get those minerals. Or the
from
fish.
the bison.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. And so, and that's because the world used to have minerals in the soil. But now with excessive farming and tilling and chemical fertilizers, the food, or even the beef or any of the animals from the soil of the land, do not have those same minerals in them. So
it's not nutrient dense.
Exactly. So our cells need, like you said, 110 minerals, plus or minus, cobalt, silica, zinc, all these trace nutrients that we can get in the soil. And here in Kauai, there's places around the world which have fertile soil. But humans, and especially modern day Americans, are not getting those. So that's why they reach for supplements.
Because of the excessive amount of chemicals in the food.
Correct.
And the processing that happens to the food.
And actually agricultural methods. So it's because we've been tilling and the soil has been eroding away, and we're adding in synthetic fertilizers instead.
Oh, so, synthetic fertilizer.
Yes. Okay. So in order to grow plants, you only need 3 minerals: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, to grow a tomato. And then a couple other, like calcium and whatnot, to grow a tomato.
Okay.
But if you had a tomato that grew in a compost pile here in Hawaii, it would have 110 minerals. And that's where you get all those nutrients.
Not just those 3.
Exactly. So
that's a very different tomato.
Right.
And that's also something I've actually tasted when I was young, because I grew up in Qatar, and the fruits and vegetables that I would eat there, they would have sun's shining at you.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. The fruits and vegetables that I would have there tasted completely different than the ones I would have in Egypt. The ones in Qatar, they almost were tasteless, and they were very full of water. But in Egypt, when I ate a bowl of salad, I felt genuinely full.
Wow.
And it was the same bowl of salad,
right?
Just from different locations. The one in Qatar, it did not feel very filling, but the one in Egypt, first of all, there was a lot more taste, and I have a big body, and I eat a lot, and that bowl of salad in Egypt was genuinely satisfactory. Wow. But when I eat it in a different place that has a lot of processing, or is just not a country that is very agricultural.
Of course, right.
I can genuinely, that's something I felt as a young child. I was like maybe 13 or 14. And I just noticed that. I had no knowledge of all the chemicals and whatnot. I just said to my mom, I was like, oh, this salad tastes a lot better than the one we have back there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
That was before doing any type of research.
Does Egypt grow?
Yeah, Egypt is extremely...
the Fertile Crescent.
Yeah.
Actually, that doctor I mentioned, Dr. Westin A.Price, he studied dozens of indigenous people around the world. And he said the healthiest people he's ever met were the indigenous people in the early 1900s in Egypt.
Oh,
which was really
interesting.
Because they were eating stuff like fish from the river, the fertile soils. They grew amazing amounts of fruits. It's really cool dates.
I know the name in Arabic. It's called tami, and apparently this is one of our most valued resources that we have in Egypt.
And what is that?
It's the name of a soil. I don't want to say anything wrong here, but I do remember one of my relatives telling me about it, and how one of our most valued resources in terms of agriculture is this type of soil that's called tami.
Wow.
I don't know the translation
that's
of that.
Really cool.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of research. I just got that in front.
And I bet it's full of minerals. Of course,
it is, and you can genuinely taste the difference.
Wow.
It's not something that you read on the back of a label. You can get it off the street. The corn that I eat off the street, you can genuinely feel a difference.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right. And that's so deficient in America, unfortunately, and in Europe too, or anywhere in which we're overly tilling the land and overly.
What does overly tilling mean?
So
first of all, what is tilling, and then how do you over-till?
Yeah. So first off, like in the early 1900s, the Great Plains of America, which the Midwest, was full of bison for thousands of years, and that built the grasslands and the soil. Then the pioneers came in, and they started plowing and tilling, which means they're ripping up that topsoil with tractors.
Pioneers, aka the conquerors.
Yeah, pretty much. And they came in year after year, and then they would rip up that topsoil and grow wheat and corn and food. And then in the early 1900s, the wind blew all that topsoil away. That's called the Dust Bowl, and that's one of the reasons the Great Depression happened. So the topsoil of the world is slowly disappearing right now. The United Nations says we have about 50 years of soil left on Earth. And
if we continue on the same trajectory that we're on.
Yes, if we continue tilling, if we continue using these destructive methods of hurting the topsoil and the chemical fertilizers, because erosion is such a harmful practice, in which it's completely disappearing all that topsoil.
So what's the difference between topsoil? I mean, I'm guessing obviously if there's top, there's bottom. Can you talk a little bit more about soil?
Yeah, I mean, so around us, it's different around the world, especially
because as a soccer player, I notice different types of soil in the fields that we play in,
right?
And the types of grass that you need in certain climates,
right?
So what can you say about soils? And first of all, you said they have a lot of nutrients in them, and then also what's topsoil, bottom soil? How do you maintain it? How do you over-till it? How do you do it the right way?
Right.
And what are you guys doing also on the farm here?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, the soil is the living layer of skin on the earth.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, it keeps all the biosphere alive. It sequesters carbon. It's full of bacteria and fungi. It's the greatest, and most diverse ecological system on Earth. It's what makes Earth different from the entire universe. It allows animals and us to survive. And throughout human history, humans have been very small in terms of our population, and so we didn't overexhaust the resources of the soil. But now, once we invented chemical fertilizers and industrial methods of growing food, and which includes tilling and machinery and mechanization and processing of our agricultural products, then the population exploded. They called it the Green Revolution. So in places like China and India, they were able to introduce hybridized seeds and chemical fertilizers and machinery to get that soil ready for planting. And now we have 8 billion people on Earth because of that rapid growth of food.
Because it's now become very available to the point that people felt comfortable enough to keep reproducing and expanding.
Right, and believe it or not, half of the people on Earth today who are alive because of nitrogen fertilizer.
What do you mean by, can you elaborate on that?
So the moment we invented nitrogen fertilizer, which comes from this really...
When did you do that?
I think it was, I don't know the exact year, I think it was like World War I.
Okay.
Around
so
there.
Something recent.
Very, incredibly recent. If you look at the population graph.
Yeah, I've seen that graph.
Below.
Yeah. We're skyrocketing in a very short period of time.
Right, and so we're able to...
It's not something I'm entirely against, because I'm against the deep agenda that they're trying to kill us off with.
I agree.
Like they'll get
Of course, right. But then there's also the overpopulation, so there's that balance, and I think we're going to see a big shift in which a lot of the people in the world might be dying.
I wouldn't say it's overpopulation. I'd say it's mismanagement of the population.
I agree. I agree. Very
because
much so.
Higher numbers of workers can also be translated as higher production.
I agree.
If you teach them and guide them and employ them to the right places where they can add value, this world can transform completely.
That's true.
And if there's more people like you, more people like me who are putting in the work and taking the initiative and getting the knowledge and learning and being more open to receiving guidance, if there's a lot of people like us, how would the world become? Exactly. And a lot of people who have integrity and honesty, not to take that bribe to just look the other way and whatnot.
Right. That
would solve the quote-unquote overpopulation. Right. And just like all the billions of dollars that they're spending in wars, for example, homelessness can be, in America alone, would need 20 billion.
Right.
Just the aid that we've sent to Ukraine is 165 billion.
Right.
So that's obviously not a lack of funds,
of course.
Because you earlier said that the government is underfunded, which I was surprised to hear.
Right, right.
But apparently they have billions and billions of dollars to fund wars.
Exactly.
That we are genuinely not interested in.
That's true.
Yet the consumers and the citizens in this country that are supposedly paying those taxes are also supposedly funding those wars based off the same principle that you were talking about in terms of it's a revolving door, because there's the military-industrial complex.
Of course.
That is lobbying the government and making huge amounts of profit.
Of course, right. Yeah. And so there's a lot of mismanagement going on, whether it be funds, resources, people, land, soil.
Knowledge,
of course.
Gatekeeping certain information.
Right. And one interesting graph I saw is that, the global south and the more developing countries are exploding in population, so that's going up by the millions. And then the developed countries, the richer northern latitudes, are declining in population. So Europe is not
because they think they're so informed and knowledgeable that giving birth to a new baby is not good for the environment.
Right.
But actually that's not the case.
Right. I think Elon Musk said, like, if you want to save the future, have children or something. And because like Japan, Europe, they're completely declining. Whereas like Nigeria and these places have, kind of millions and millions of people. So we're going to see a huge shift in our
power
workforce.
shift and wealth transfer.
Right. And so kind of going back to the agricultural topic is how do we feed the people where they are? Because in Nigeria, that soil has been depleted. That's been completely overworked.
How can we regenerate the soil?
That's a great question. I mean, regeneration is the key for humanity's future. Pretty much, that's one of the practices we do at this farm is regenerative, soil building. So that means we're growing plants from mulch or sequestering.
What is mulch?
Mulch is just all the leaves and sticks that are dropping.
You gather them all like this leaf right here?
Yeah, so we practice a concept called agroecology, which means we're mimicking nature and how it grows food. Or how it grows the plants. We're growing edible trees and vegetables. And so nature, just like these leaves, the way the soil is being grown is by having carbon from the air being brought into the plants, creating sticks and leaves, then going into the soil, decomposing and storing carbon in there. Same thing with nitrogen as well. We have plants here that sequester nitrogen from the air and are able to use that as fertilizer for free. Rather than having to use synthetic nitrogen, we're using organic nitrogen from these special types of plants called nitrogen fixing plants, like beans as well. And so we're mimicking nature and growing that soil. So I mentioned that soil is eroding away, but what we're doing here...
There is a solution.
There's a solution, of course, regenerative agriculture.
And this is what you guys are doing here.
Right. And so kind of going back to our earlier conversation about like conventional organic,
Yeah.
it's about finding regenerative farms that are close to your home, that you know the farmer by name.
But what if you don't have that luxury?
Of course. I mean, there's actually ways, if you eat meat, you could actually get a box shipped to you full of frozen beef from a regenerative farm. And
do you know any names that you'd like to mention now?
I don't, but
maybe we can make a list and you can share it on your Instagram.
Online, yes,
or,
there's plenty of amazing places. Yeah, lots of ranches, especially, you could actually just go on Craigslist.
Oh.
Even if you're in like LA or Chicago or these cities, you can go on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and find ranchers and farmers in your broader area who will deliver, or you can meet them at their farm. And wherever you are, there's a farm nearby. even if you're in the middle of Dubai. You know, there's always going to be food close to you, whether it be shipped in. So I think just taking that extra initiative to go out there.
But they're usually not B2C, it's usually B2B, business to business, not business to consumer, or even business to government.
Of course, right. And then there's a lot of regulatory agencies that...
Because I was living in Dubai for a while. You don't really see farms. You just see infrastructure and luxury. Right. So the farms are all here in Kauai, or in America in general as well. As I'm not inside of LA, but on the outskirts, you see a lot of farms and land that's being taken care of.
Of course.
Yeah, but that's something I would say is not very common in all the countries. Right. Yeah. And I haven't seen the entire world, so I'm not really making a judgment here. I'm just saying from where I grew up, there are farms, yes, but they're not as many. Because of big business. Right. And you were mentioning earlier that it is a privilege to access organic, regenerative food from a farmer's market. Some people genuinely do want that. However, either they can't afford it, or it's too far. The shipping costs will probably cost more than the food itself, so it's unsustainable for them. And third, they're not sure how trustworthy that farm is. What are they doing behind the scenes? Because you're not always going to be at the farm seeing how that animal's being treated, or what they're putting in the soil, and all these details.
Of course, right.
So, and that's going back to the USDA, that's their job.
Exactly.
That they're not doing because they're getting paid off.
Right.
So now, have you ever sat down and actually thought of a solution to all this?
If you have the ability to grow your own food, do it. Even if it's a garden in your backyard.
But would that sustain you?
Not technically, no. Okay. Obviously,
but it's a start.
It's a start. I think I heard there was like 40 million acres of lawns in America. That everyone has a front.
It's not natural to have grass.
Exactly. So
in huge acres.
Right. So if we were able to turn 40 million acres of American lawns into food production. And you might only have kale and strawberries.
You can even trade with your neighbors. You have random orange trees around the city blocks and on the pavements and whatnot. For the people who are struggling financially, they can just pick a fruit off the tree and sustain themselves so that they can get through and possibly be more productive and get out of the situation that they're in. Right. So sometimes you're in a bad situation and you genuinely do want to get out. You're tired.
Right. And so it's incredibly difficult to grow 100% of your own food in your backyard. And you asked if that's actually sustainable, which is totally not. But if everyone had that small plot of land, they grew a couple things and they traded with your neighbors, just like you said, just like we did in the agrarian
And we would feel good too to give. It feels good to give others.
Absolutely. And everyone has.
And it would build community, it would build relationships too.
Absolutely. And during World War II, the government had people doing the victory gardens, if you're familiar.
What is that? I don't know.
In World War II, the food system was very limited in America. There was rations on gas and certain imports. So they actually had Americans take their front lawns and backyards, build garden beds, and they gave out a bunch of free seeds. And they had all like the housewives at home and men as well grow thousands and thousands of pounds of food for their communities as well. So they called it the victory gardens because a nation's food supply is determined, their health and their wellness. And so America was scared that our imports of food was going to get cut off during the war. So we focused on internal ways of growing food, and so people are starting that.
But then we stopped that.
By necessity. We were growing it because we had to. But then since we started importing more food that was cheaper,
things got better.
We got lazy. Exactly. So it's harder.
Laziness is a huge factor in the way the world is.
Of course.
Of course. And even in the terms of corruption, if people who do notice the corruption but don't do anything about it, there may be a lot of different reasons, whether because they're going to get threatened or something's going to happen to them or their family, or sometimes they're just too lazy to go through all the effort it takes to file that report and to put the action behind stopping that corruption.
Right.
Even if you can, you're fully capable of doing it, you're just like, it's not my battle, or I'm just not gonna. It's because it takes effort.
Of course,
it takes a lot of dedication and follow through to actually make sure that these people get held accountable.
Exactly.
Even if you know, but you don't do anything about it, now you're somewhat complicit because
Right.
you had the responsibility to stop it and you didn't.
Right, right.
Yeah, so
I think
it's,
MLK had a quote like, if you're silent in the face of injustice, you're complicit with it
yeah,
as well.
even
So you have
in
to speak up.
yeah, even in our tradition, there's a saying that goes, "الساكت عن الحق شيطان أخرس." The person who is silent about the truth is a silent devil.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. That's true.
Because a lot of times, if you, let's say I'm doing something really bad, something really wrong, whether I'm aware of it or not, I'm going to leave that part out.
Right.
And you know that I'm doing something wrong, and you didn't correct me in any way, whether verbally or in terms of action. Now you actually let me continue in this mistake. But had you done something to correct my ways, first of all, you would have helped me, and also you fulfilled your responsibility of the knowledge you have.
Right.
Because let's say I genuinely did not know what I'm doing, like a child.
Right.
A child, they put something in their mouth, they're trying to swallow something that they're not supposed to. It is our responsibility to tell that child, this will kill you.
Right.
Or just tell them no, and then later on in the future, they realize why we said no.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the responsibility of us as individuals, regardless of our political position,
Right.
to speak up at least.
Uh-huh.
And not be so afraid of being ousted or laughed at or whatnot, because a lot of the people that are laughed at now, in retrospect, down the line, you're gonna realize they were the people that are actually trying to save you.
That's right.
And they were doing the right thing, but you were too busy on a bandwagon believing the mainstream media.
Well said.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Who do have a funded agenda to take you and your attention in a certain direction.
Right, right. So to go against the Edward Bernays public relations
Yep.
dogma.
That's why it's very important to know about these things so that you can then identify them when they're happening.
Correct. Exactly. Exactly. And having these conversations, having this education,
Yeah.
so that way you could promote your sovereignty, because that's what it's all about. There's a lot of collectivism going on, whether it be, Democrat, Republican, or organic, conventional. You have to be in these camps. But the sovereignty of having your own beliefs and own thoughts and discernments, and speaking up, like you said, and having the truth.
But also the knowledge before you speak up. We don't just want
Right.
random morons talking everywhere, and then it's going to get too crowded.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's why working on yourself is a prerequisite for you having a relevant opinion.
Right. That's very true.
Yeah.
That's true.
For example, if I were to come, I wouldn't start I would not give an educational video about the farm, because I'm not that much of an expert. But I'm happy to give you a platform and get the camera and do this, because you're far more knowledgeable than me. So it's my responsibility to get that information out there.
Of course, right.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the beauties of these technological outlets, is that we can give people the space to share their expertise.
Yeah, that's why I find technology very valuable. A lot of people say that they don't feel very connected to nature when they're around technology and whatnot, but technology is nature. Electricity is nature.
Right.
It's just a condensed and highly sophisticated form of nature that is serving us in a specific way that we've designed.
Right.
Like a hammer is just a very basic design that we've built to fulfill a certain purpose.
Right.
The phone is not good or bad. It's just how you use it. The same thing with the hammer. You can build a house with a hammer, and you can also break a person's skull with it. Well said. It just depends on how you use it.
That's very true. That's very true. And looking at society, unfortunately, the majority of people are using it in the wrong way. And the Facebook, Instagram, people have completely taken over our subconscious. So the iPad babies, all the children who are instant dopamine gratification, in 50 years. We're talking about the future of the human race with resources and
we are the future, and the babies.
Of course. So I'm a little concerned with technology negatively influencing people's brain circuitry, and then them growing up to become working adults. And
the result of that damage.
And then the societal impacts that we're going to have.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's concerning. And then our workforce is not going to be focused on plumbers and car mechanics. It's going to be focused on more niche technological subjects and stock trading. So,
but one point I did notice about America, for example, that I have always been avoiding America in general because of the research I've been doing and all the things that you're talking about, all these chemicals that you have here. For example, the same product in America has a lot more toxic ingredients than the exact same product from the same company, let's say in Europe or in a different location.
That's right.
That was one of the reasons I was always avoidant of the US, although I am a citizen. And when I came here recently, this July, my eye was open to something I didn't see before coming here, which was because of the bad market and the bad business that is going on and the toxicity, it actually created a market for extremely healthy products.
Well
for
said,
example,
right.
here I find raw milk, genuinely raw milk, and there are entire stores and grocery stores focused specifically for that niche of really healthy food.
Right.
And that opened my eye to the fact that regardless of how bad things can be and how toxic a thing is, it's going to create the space for a healthy alternative to fill that space. And that's something I appreciate about America, and one of the reasons why I chose to continue staying here is because as much as there's bad, I'm also having much more access to very good.
Of course.
And that's something that is very, it's almost like a paradox, but it's also, it shows you the balance of life.
And that kind of comes
what
into
you would focus on. Yeah.
Of course, right. And consumer demand is really pushing that. It's
Yeah.
because we have so much crap in our markets, and the majority of Americans, especially in like the Midwest and places, are going to gravitate towards those. But then, conscious individuals are going to want quality.
Yeah.
And since they can't find it,
They'll
that
make
means supply and demand is going to increase the price.
Yeah.
And then there's these organic grocery stores, which here in Kauai we have a couple.
Yeah.
And you can't walk out of there without spending triple digits, because it's these foods, which is very sad that real food has to cost that much money.
Yeah.
And it also has to be
And nature
a
gives
market
it to us
niche.
for free.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So the fact that in order to have raw milk and niche health foods is now a byproduct of our industrial food system, because people like us demanded it, it's completely ironic, because that's what original food has always been.
Yeah.
And it's been cheap and free throughout history.
Yeah.
And now it's expensive and niche. Right?
It's also very interesting when you're walking in the grocery store and you see health section. So what does that imply about the rest?
Of course, right.
Yeah.
One thing I learned about a grocery store is a cool fact for your folks here.
Yeah.
The outer perimeter of the grocery store is where the good food is. The fresh vegetables, meats, dairy on the outer perimeter, but the food on the inside,
Like the center
the
of
rows.
the,
So the cereals, the candy
chocolate,
bars.
yeah.
Those are the things that are preserved and packaged that are bad for you.
Never noticed
And the
that.
perimeter is
Okay.
where the things that are fresh are. Isn't that interesting?
I never analyzed that.
Right, the
but
layout,
I'll try to notice that the next time I'm in there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And kind of on that note too, is that you were saying that like there's all this crap in our food system. Same thing with our supplement industry. Is that like
let's talk a bit more about that. We didn't dive into that difference between having supplements and also eating completely from the ground.
Absolutely, yeah. The supplement industry has been very corrupted as well. People think it's the pharmaceutical industry, and then they could take supplements to get healthy, to get out of it. But the medical
or to balance it out.
Right.
Yeah.
But they don't know that the pharmaceutical companies are also creating supplements as well. That's a lot of the ones in the stores nowadays are all from Nestle and a lot of these, larger.
Nestle's a whole trip by itself,
That's
even
true.
with the water.
Nestle's crazy.
Yeah.
So to find quality supplements, it's very difficult. And supplements.
How would you define the term a quality supplement? How would you identify a quality supplement?
Yeah, I mean that it's sourced from a natural source.
Not made in a lab.
Not made in a lab, although there is context and nuance that some lab-made, magnesium or B vitamins can help people with chronic conditions, and
because there is sometimes certain value to the Western medicine and its structure, and not being always using holistic methods. Sometimes, let's say if you break a bone or something, sometimes you do need that hospital structure to do certain things. But overall, prevention is better than cure.
I agree.
And living a holistic, natural lifestyle, and also strengthening yourself to the point where you don't need a hospital. And yeah, sorry to cut you off on that thought, but I wanted to get that.
No, I agree.
out.
Yeah, there's totally pros and cons of Western medicine and holistic. And I always look at the timeline again, whether it be with agriculture, food, but also with medicine. Is that with traditional Chinese medicine, or
because that could be considered a supplement too.
Of course, that's very true.
That's they call it nowadays alternative medicine.
Right.
Which actually that's supposed to be the main one, and the hospital is supposed to be the alternative.
Exactly. And especially when you look at the timeline, right? You get traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, for like 4,000 years. Then you have these indigenous practices of using herbs and plants, and obviously if you broke a bone, they would use splints and other ways to maintain that structure.
Even birth, that's a whole topic that has been taken advantage of in a very bad way.
Very.
Even the way they give birth on their back and whatnot, that's a whole other topic. I'm going to be interviewing a doula soon, so
interesting.
I'll keep that for another expert so that she can talk about that.
Absolutely. But, I heard squatting is good.
Yeah,
that's right.
And going back to supplements and identifying quality supplements, and also how that what you were saying about the food and then making up for it with supplements.
Absolutely. And you asked me about an hour ago, if you were to eat food right off the farm with fertile soil, clean water, coconut water, all the good nutrients from the land, you could probably get everything you need, right? But modern problems require modern solutions. They say, so a modern problem is stress, or
But doesn't working on the farm with your hand ground you enough and takes away that stress?
Of course, yes. But if someone were to come here with perfect health, they can maintain their perfect health with the perfect soil and perfect water. So, but that's top 1% of the population.
Yeah.
But right now, people living in the modern society, even Wi-Fi, electromagnetic fields, and whatnot are affecting our cells' ability to function. We're all coming from cities that are full of toxins. So it does require a certain level of extra input to our body.
Is that where supplements come in?
Exactly. So food and water can...
So you do recommend people to take supplements?
It depends on what their conditions are and what their needs are. So I think everyone in the world...
And their body types too.
Yes, absolutely. Everyone needs to detox because we're full of these heavy metals and fluoride and neurotoxins.
Involuntarily.
Right, exactly.
They're all around us.
Unless you were a baby born and raised here in Kauai without any vaccines or anything, and you've had a pure diet your entire life, you might be fine. But everyone has a limitation in their body, and everyone needs,
What do you mean a limitation in their body?
Our cells aren't functioning properly. We're not getting enough of the nutrients that we need because, like I mentioned, the minerals in the soil have been depleted. Our water is not pure.
But doesn't the body regulate itself? Because this is the highest level of a supercomputer that we are embodying. And the more we get to know the user's manual of this supercomputer that we're using, the more it can serve us, and the healthier we will feel, and the more productive we can be, and clear-headed that we can be.
Absolutely.
So from your background in LA and then living here in Hawaii, did you notice a a noticeable difference between yourself in different environments?
Oh, absolutely. Back in LA, I've always had brain fog.
Were you taking supplements in LA?
I was.
Okay. And are you still taking them now?
Yes.
Okay.
And not just supplements, but a lifestyle change. Going to the sauna, running, exercise. There's a lot of modalities, lymphatic
You were not
drainage.
doing that in LA, or were you?
I was learning about it as my years went on, but I definitely have focused on that more recently. So, and the phrase supplements, kind of lumps together all like the generic brands of, you can get your synthetic vitamin C and magnesium and stuff, versus what I call more holistic, natural, earth-based supplements. And that's kind of where my research has led to.
Yeah.
So in LA, you can go on Amazon, you can go to the stores, you could buy certain compounds or even herbs in a pill. You could buy Gotu Kola or lion's mane.
What's your take on pills? Like that cover they put the powder in.
Right.
How does that digest into the body, and is that something to be avoided, or is that okay?
It's contextual. Obviously, throughout human history, we never had a pill.
Yeah.
When we ate something, like let's just say, this grass was an herb, we would eat it and chew it, and the flavors or
your saliva makes a big difference.
Saliva, our body knows what's coming in.
Yeah.
But if this was
it analyzes it in the mouth.
Exactly. Okay. We can create enzymes and gastric juices to help digest that. But when we put this in a pill and surpass that, and it opens up in our gut instead, we completely block out.
A big part of the process was just over
chewing.
Yeah.
Right.
I never heard that before.
Right. And so
I want to ask you that question.
Yeah, and oftentimes the quality of those pills is coming from a laboratory that is using fillers and flowing agents.
What do you mean fillers? What's a filler?
Things like magnesium stearate, rice bran, they add it in order to preserve it, and in order
into the powder that's
Correct.
inside the capsule.
Yes. So in order to fill that capsule, they can't just use.
So it's not just 100% powder.
Correct. And you read the ingredients. There's always like silica stearate. There's always like these weird compounds in there as.
What
fillers.
if the ingredients only have the vegetable capsule and whatever powder they're putting?
Depends on the quality of that powder. First off, all of these are made in giant factories in Arizona. You know, they're literally pumping
Arizona.
up, or around in these places that are not where the plants are coming from, or in China, right? And they're growing.
It's just a factory.
Exactly, they're growing these herbs on an industrial level using crap soil and chemicals. Obviously, or non-organic ones are going to be using those synthetic chemicals. And then they dehydrate it and turn that into a powder and into a pill that your body's not going to recognize as the actual medicinal herb, compared to if you were to get that fresh herb, chew on it, absorb it, your body will recognize it and get the benefits.
What about powder? Because you're talking about chewing. Let's say I put some powder in a smoothie. Let's say spirulina powder or whatever.
Right.
I'm not chewing the powder.
Right.
I am putting it into a drink and just swallowing it directly.
Absolutely.
Just drinking it. Would that be more readily accessible by the body than a pill?
Of
or
course.
would that be more recommended?
Yeah, I mean, it's faster absorbed because that pill doesn't have to break down, because your body has to digest that vegetable cellulose pill too. It has to pass through your system. Versus when you're drinking it, whether it be in your smoothie, I like to always add stuff into my smoothie or a tincture. Your body goes right into your gut and your bloodstream. Especially the powders are smaller particles, so they can get absorbed really quickly compared to having like whole plants as well.
On that
There's
note,
benefits as well.
let's see your business.
Guarantee. Yeah.
What do you sell? And this is one of the things that you have. It's called Brain Boost.
Yes.
Local lion's mane and Gotu Kola.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna give this to you to
If you want to try
elaborate
some
on
too.
what-
Yes.
Yeah, I can try some.
So
Explain it to me, and then I'll try what you just explained.
Absolutely. So a little story behind it I was mentioning is that like a lot of these mushrooms and herbs are coming from China, coming from bad farms. So I wanted to find quality food and supplements and herbs and mushrooms. So I started growing it myself or working with other local farms.
So you grew these mushrooms here yourself?
My friend did on the Big Island.
Okay.
So we sourced a couple herbs from Kauai, the Big Island, Maui, and across Hawaii. And so my main intention was to source quality ingredients from real farms. Because rather than it being
Not industrial or
not
factory.
industrial, that's been grown years ago, dehydrated in a warehouse. I know the person who grew this with the best soil, the best methods possible, without any chemicals. And then we process it ourselves. And that's kind of the greatest part. So I actually started doing
How
that.
do you process it?
So for example, the lion's mane, we extract it in Maui pineapple vodka. So it's actually an alcohol extract that we use alcohol to break down the mushroom to extract a compound in here called beta-glucans. And the liquid is actually a vodka from Maui pineapples, which is really cool. So we wanted to get local alcohol. And the compound...
What if someone does not consume alcohol?
We have
How
other...
would that be incorporated? Is this like an alcoholic drink or?
No, it's just a tincture. So in order to break down the mushroom...
What is a tincture?
A tincture is a way to extract a substance from a plant or an herb or a mushroom. So
But that doesn't mean now you're drinking an alcoholic drink.
No, I don't drink personally.
It's just a form of extraction.
Exactly. And you're only actually going to be taking 8 drops, so it's a very small amount compared to a drink.
Yeah.
You could also put this into your water.
And also
tea.
the intention of it is medicinal. It's not to feel a certain way
Correct.
or get high or drunk or whatever.
Exactly. And there's such a small amount of alcohol in here that you don't feel it at all. And you could put it in your smoothie or in your water, and you could drink it like that if you don't like the taste.
Okay.
But
this one is lion's mane.
That's
What
correct.
are the benefits of this one?
So lion's mane is an amazing mushroom that helps with like memory, focus, and mood. And that beta-glucans compound I mentioned goes into the brain. It has the ability to create new brain circuitry.
Nice.
Through a process called neurogenesis. That means there's new neurons that are being fired. That helps with information recall and also accessing your memories and helping with cognitive function overall. And some really cool research has come out that it improves dementia and Alzheimer's in elderly patients as well.
Because like you said, it regenerates neural pathways.
Exactly. So when you take
your brain
it
is more alive. It's
Exactly.
more connected. The light bulb is brighter.
Right. And so they say we only use 10% of our brain, so this really helps boost that as well. And it's not just lion's mane, which has that a beneficial.
There's chaga too.
It's actually Gotu Kola. So it's
what is Gotu Kola?
It's an herb that we grow here.
Okay.
It has this cool like heart shape. And
first time I hear that name.
Yeah, Gotu Kola. It's this. It grows on the ground really easily, and then we extract. A tree just fell. That is pretty cool.
That's a naturally falling tree?
Yeah, wow.
Interesting.
That's pretty cool. We just watched a tree fall down in the forest.
Interesting.
Pretty cool. Welcome to Kauai.
So nobody chopped it down, it just fell?
Nope. Yeah, that's funny. All the wind we've been getting.
Yeah, nice.
So we got...
You're talking about Gotu Kola.
Yes, so a lion's mane, Gotu Kola are both brain-boosting herbs, or the mushroom, that pretty much help with that memory, focus, and mood. And we also have L-theanine, which is a type of amino acid that comes from green tea.
Okay.
And that's really beneficial.
And that's inside here?
Yes, and then we also put in Kauai vanilla to make it taste great. Vanilla is actually beneficial for you. Vanilla is an aphrodisiac. And actually,
it tastes nice too.
It tastes amazing and it
really
smells
like
great. So
we
combined all these into kind of this herbal mixture that you could easily just try if you want to take
let's do it.
Yeah, all you, my man.
I do not consume alcohol, but if in terms of a medicinal way, we do put alcohol on our skin and whatnot for medicinal purposes.
Yeah, you could probably just like put a couple drops under your tongue. 8 drops is a serving, but it's a little strong. And we do a dual extract. So it's 50% alcohol and 50% hot water. So because the cell wall of a mushroom has to be broken down in order to get those nutrients. And so we do the dual extract.
Keep it under my tongue?
You could for a little while. And it tastes good too. Not too bad. So yeah, this was kind of our flagship product here. And so I built this brand called the Hawaiian Mineral Company to focus on replenishing minerals that we've lost, like I mentioned, that's not in our soil and water, and to get it back into our diet and food, but also some of our supplements as well, because it is important to supplement strategically. It's not going to the store and picking out all the zinc and vitamin C for your cold and flu, but taking the right things from the right places. And thankfully here in Hawaii, we have access to such an abundance of herbs and farm crops and amazing things like salt that I wanted to put it all in one place to provide it for people who needed that extra boost, right?
And also the timing that you could take certain products.
Exactly, yes.
Like taking a cold and flu medicine when you're not having a cold and flu. I'm not talking about the pharmaceutical medicine, like I'm talking about the herb that helps with that. Obviously it could be beneficial, but also knowing when to take what is a very important section of information that is very useful for people.
Yeah, this is a morning time herb because it gives you mental clarity throughout the day.
Nice. Whereas we should have taken that before we do this. Although like it's flowing pretty nicely.
No, totally.
Yeah. This obviously would help with anybody's work, whatever they're doing.
It got me through college, and because it allows you to give that extra edge. When did you start this company? It's about a year or two ago, year and a half. I've been working on this for a few years, kind of in my head and synthesizing this knowledge of wanting to put together products for people to enjoy. But it wasn't until I came to Hawaii and settled down here and sourcing the ingredients is when I actually started providing it for people.
Okay, and what supplements are you currently taking?
I do a lot of my own. So this is the morning time supplement, but at nighttime I have ashwagandha and kava. Woo! So kava is actually this plant right here, which is this really unique.
This is kava?
This is kava. So at nighttime I take this. It's a Hawaiian
How do you consume that? You just bite that? Or
you actually could bite the stem, but I take the roots and I blend it with that alcohol extract as well.
Okay.
And then when you take that, helps relax your muscles, and it's good for stress and anxiety.
Kava is a relaxant?
Yes, yes. Okay. And it's a Hawaiian traditional plant as well, so it's been used throughout Hawaiian history, which is really cool. And ashwagandha, my friend grows
Ashwagandha is good for stress management.
Correct.
And also increases your testosterone.
That's right. Exactly, exactly.
I take that.
Nice, yeah, it's really beneficial for you. And my friend...
Sometimes I feel like it gets me a bit intense and like very brutal.
Yeah, that's fair. It's called an adaptogen. So a lot of these plants, including the mushrooms, are an adaptogen, and that means it helps balance your hormones. So it brings down your cortisol and adrenaline and brings up your dopamine and norepinephrine and happy chemicals as well, and serotonin. So it brings balance to the endocrine system and nervous system. But ashwagandha is really unique, especially when it's grown in the right soil. My friend right down the road from here, he has a couple plants, and we dig out the entire plant and we only use the root. We actually throw away the entire rest of the plant. So that's one interesting thing about the supplement industry, including mushrooms as well.
Yeah.
They're cutting corners and they're using the entire plant.
And you're not supposed to do that.
For certain
highest quality.
Exactly. For ashwagandha, for example, you only use the roots. And lion's mane, for example, you only use the fruiting body. Whereas
not the whole mushroom.
The whole mushroom is grown on this like a rice bran substrate, and there's all these roots called hyphae.
Okay.
And these industries are using this entire block of mushroom, but the medicinal value is only in 10% of what's called the fruiting body. And that's what's the mushroom coming out of it.
Oh, okay.
So for us, we wanted to focus on just the high quality components of the plants and mushrooms and herbs, and only provide that for people, rather than having to deal with the rest of the crappy quality that's in it. So yeah, we've been focused on lion's mane, ashwagandha, kava.
Those are the 3 products you're selling?
Those are the 3 herbal ones. We also have electrolytes that are really beneficial. So we've been focusing.
I think that was the one that you were selling when we first met.
Yes.
You gave me a taster to drink.
Yeah, I actually got that one right here.
Oh,
so
you have it?
yeah, I got it.
Where is it? This one?
Yeah, so pretty much these electrolytes are pretty unique because like 90% of Americans are deficient in magnesium and potassium. And so we get
magnesium also helps a lot with sleeping and regulating your overall system.
Oh my goodness.
I discovered that when I was in Germany. It really helped with my overall function because I was playing soccer there.
Okay.
And it really helped ease my mind and get me in a flow, and also with the recovery process.
Right.
It does apparently help very strongly with the recovery process, like when you're sore and whatnot.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it helps you recover quicker.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes, and because magnesium's mineral for relaxation. So calcium retracts, magnesium relaxes. And actually,
what did you just say? Can you repeat that?
Oh, calcium retracts your muscles, and then magnesium relaxes them.
So would you say calcium is good to take before working out?
I think there's nuance to it. I mean, it depends on what your needs are. If you're deficient in it, of course.
So when you take calcium, it brings you closer together. It constricts you.
For your muscles. So like this.
Yeah.
So magnesium is relaxing it, whereas calcium does this, and that's happening on a cellular level. Between these 2 minerals, and so one is not necessarily more beneficial for pre-workout.
It just depends on your purpose.
Exactly.
And what you're trying to achieve.
Right. And actually, for cellular metabolism, for energy to be produced, like ATP, magnesium is necessary.
What is ATP?
It's the energy of the cell.
Okay.
So that's what your mitochondria are producing for us to be speaking and talking and playing soccer. You need lots of ATP.
Okay.
Or 24/7, your body needs energy. And so magnesium actually helps produce that as well. It's an essential mineral and electrolyte that's necessary for human life on Earth.
Okay.
But since 90% of Americans are deficient in it, we're reaching for caffeine and all these other ways to get energy instead, rather than just focusing on foundational nutrients, rather. So, so we actually get this from the Big Island. It's a really cool extract from deep sea ocean water, believe it or not. So there's a company out there that sources it, and it's really changed my life, my sleep, my mental clarity and focus, which has been great.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And to wrap things up, how do you see your near future going? What are your coming goals? What are your aspirations?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're definitely focused on growing this out. We have a couple new products down the line of things like bee pollen, vitamin E, different extracts of different Hawaiian herbs and plants, including a greens blend that's similar to athletic greens, but we're using Hawaiian sourced vegetables such as like spirulina, kale, moringa, gotu kola, and tulsi as well.
What's tulsi?
Tulsi is called the holy basil. It grows in India, but we have it here in our garden, and we're...
So you're growing it here as well?
Exactly, yes. So we're growing these plants, and then we dehydrate it into a powder, and then turn that into a drink mix. So you could add that into your water.
So it's
really
just
great.
Straight up the plant, just simply dehydrated and crushed?
Correct,
and
yes.
that's the final product?
Exactly, yeah.
That's it?
And so you add that right into your water or your juice or smoothie.
And how do you dehydrate it?
We have a little small dehydrator, and we go low and slow. So in order to actually dehydrate it, you have to take out all the water and
that's a machine that does all that. You
yes.
don't. Okay.
And for your body to absorb the nutrients in kale, for example, you have to use heat to break it down. Because if I started...
So if you eat kale raw, that's not the best form of consumption.
It's not, because there's lots of oxalates and there's a lot of anti-nutrients that are preventing your body from absorbing the benefits of kale. But using heat, that's what they do, you know, in every indigenous culture. They cook their greens. Like in India, they only eat cooked greens. They don't eat raw salad.
That's a very interesting piece of information.
Isn't
because some people say that when you cook something, you take out its vitality. So what's your take on that?
It depends on what you're cooking.
Yeah.
I mean, fire is what made us human, and cooking meat has completely changed the course of human history.
Some people eat raw meat.
That's right. I mean, there's nuance. Some people do, like the Maasai tribe in Africa drinks, you know, raw milk, raw blood, raw meat.
They drink raw blood.
They do, yes.
Okay.
And they sustain their entire life on that. And their digestive tract, their genetics, their biology is designed for that, and that's them. Versus people in Switzerland or, you know, Mexico are all different.
I have seen this documentary of the person. I forgot, and I'm not sure whether it's Westin. You said Westin, his name was?
Yes, Westin A.Price.
Yeah. I've seen this like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but I don't remember the name. I remember watching it and sending it to a couple people. And the research was saying how, depending on your geographical location, which group of people you were from, you have to, the best diet for each group was different.
Right.
There can't be a one size fits all.
Correct.
Like people in Alaska had a certain diet, and the people in North America had one, South America, Europe. And also a big part of the research was how he noticed the dental structure of people would change when they're not in alignment with the natural diet that they were built for.
Right.
So when you're steering away from your biological origins, because I'm not gonna get into your soul. This is a different thing. We just focus on the physical, the vessel that you're embodying. When it's born in a certain location, or when you've inherited a certain lineage of genetic structure, you're more wired towards a certain diet than another group of people's diet. So you're supposed to eat what your group of people have been eating for centuries.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because we evolved and adapted to a certain type of food.
Yeah.
Whether it be in like India, they eat. They don't eat a lot of meat, for example. They you know, have some chicken and stuff, but they have largely a plant-based diet.
Mainly vegetarian.
Right, and so their guts are designed to digest chickpeas and things like that better, and rice, than you know, people in Europe.
So let's say someone, exactly, that's living in a very cold climate. They don't have that. Because I was speaking to people when I was in Germany, they were always trying to push the vegan agenda on me. I was like, how is this natural? Let's say because I come, I was living in a place that was mainly a desert. So we don't have all that vegetable that you're talking about. So we mainly have cows and goats and whatnot. Right. They're you just give them the grass and basic things, and then they give you a whole meal. Exactly. So this vegan or vegetarian, mainly vegan diet was extremely privileged. That does not apply to everybody. Maybe it's good for you in your location, but other people in different situations, how can they sustain that? How can that be a natural form of their existence, given that location, whether in the desert or in a very cold climate? Exactly. Right. Yeah. So that's part of why. Because for a period of time, I did decide not to eat meat. I felt okay. My muscles were still growing. Everything was functional. I didn't feel like I was lacking anything. But at the same time, at a certain point, I started realizing this is not necessary. Although it may have certain energetic benefits in terms of how the animal was treated before it died and how that energy transfers to me. That's something I'm still being conscious of. Right. However, in terms of the meat itself, I don't think it's a bad thing to consume it. It's just the quality of the meat and how you treated that animal, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It simply transfers. Right. And if that animal was tortured before it died, that energy is stuck now in that meat. If I eat that energy of fear, I'm now filling myself with that energy. Correct. That was my main philosophy behind decreasing that, which I still do decrease it. But in this modern world where everything is industrialized and there's a lot of shipping and whatnot,
Right.
You don't always see the animal. You don't
Right.
always know what's happening behind the scenes.
Correct.
Yeah, and
Right.
that's where I started to incorporate more of mind over matter. You set your intention over the food, and you bless it, and you pray that it fuels your body in the best way possible, because there's only so much you can control.
Mm-hmm.
At a certain point, you're just going to become too obsessed.
Right.
And that negative energy in your mind is going to be projected onto that, and then you're actually harming yourself. It's not the food that's harming you, it's you harming yourself with your own thoughts.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In that note, we can also benefit yourself with your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that is highly relevant for people to think about. And also with the things that they consume, such as these, also, this is not a magical solution. It's simply a supplement to help you improve, but it's not the improvement. It's not like, you know, when they say get this fat burner, it's not like that fat burner is going to get you the 6-pack. No, you have to put the work in.
Of course.
And this is simply an aid.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And there's an interesting concept that I learned of food orthorexia.
What's that?
It means you're so overly obsessed with what you're eating that it puts you into that fear state, and it prevents you from really enjoying food. Or when you walk into a grocery store or the supplement aisle of a health food store, there's so many options, and it's overwhelming, and it puts your body into a freeze state. Your nervous system can't function and make a decision, nor can you sit down and eat that food with joy and love. Like you're, sitting around with your family.
Because you're worried about which decision to make, and you're worried about not having done the best decision.
Right, and there's this concept of nutritionism.
What's that?
Yeah, it's a philosophy of that.
So what was the name of the first one you said? Ortho what?
Orthorexia.
Orthorexia
Right.
and nutritionism.
Nutrition, yes. So, I mean, if people are so overly obsessed with nutrients and ways of eating,
because these are all fine details that you don't need to know, you just feel it. Like, I'm not discrediting it or saying it's not important, but I'm saying the average person would not have access to that level of knowledge.
Correct.
So you simply consume it and see how you feel.
Right.
And then experts and people that want to specialize in that stuff start to dive in and see the cell and the mineral and all that stuff.
Right, absolutely. And if you look at human history, we never had to worry about what to eat. The people with the perfect jawlines and teeth and stuff, they ate their, seal blubber in Alaska. Like they know exactly what to eat because that's what their parents and grandparents have brought through tradition. But now in our modern day world, we have a thing called the omnivore's dilemma. So the omnivore eats everything. Right now we could eat meat or plants or fish. Yeah. Maybe not blubber, but
what is blubber?
Oh, like the seals, like in like the Inuit of the northern latitude. Okay. They eat like whales and seals and things like that. That's just like the niche food that compared to a plant-based diet of a tropical nation, it's completely different. Yeah. So there's so much variance in our food from every latitude of the world and every aisle of the grocery store that we have such dilemmas of what to choose to eat.
We're not used to that.
Right. And people are hyper-focused on nutrition. Yeah. I want to eat raw meat.
Right now, for example, I have to keep on reading every single label and reading the nutrients and seeing what is this chemical, it's not something that I would rather do. Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So I think you had mentioned using feeling and intuitive insight versus analytical mindset to choose your foods, because...
And also your intention, like your overall state of being. If you're a genuinely positive person and you feel blessed and you are blessed. Right. Even if you drink poison, the poison is not going to affect you as the same way as another person.
That's very well said.
Because your vibration and your frequency and your overall state of being.
Right.
That's why it is important to eat clean food. I'm not discounting that at all, and drink clean water. But at the same time, we can't obsess over every single drop of water we consume, because also our thoughts and our overall frequency does transmute that.
That's true. Yeah, we go out for a burger all the time, canola oil, 100 different cows in that thing, and I enjoy it.
That's a very interesting piece of information that you mentioned earlier.
So, because
doesn't that also affect the structure of the burger?
Of course. And so my main point is that rather than being obsessed and orthorexic about, oh, this bun has to be organic, oh, I can't use soybean oil, oh, it has to be perfect because, I'm a health god.
Yeah,
we have to be conscious of just being happy, just eat it instead.
Be grateful for the food you have in front of you and simply consider it fuel.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And if you do that just once a week, you go out, I eat some fried chicken once in a while, and you balance it with what you're able to, then that's important. You know?
Also exercise your thoughts, your words, because nutrition is not only what you consume through your mouth, it's also what you think.
That's true.
Which has a huge effect on everything that you do in your life.
Of course.
So it's not just the supplement. Some of the strongest supplements can actually be the affirmations that you say to yourself, or your journaling, or the books that you read. That's a supplement.
Right.
Because it opens your mind to a new perception that you previously were not aware of.
That's right.
And you feel better just because you had that piece of information. That same food that you're eating, you're now feeling better because of that piece of information.
Right. Yeah, and scientists are studying that everything, including the minerals in the soil, are all electromagnetic. So everything's vibrating on a certain frequency. So when we input food into our body, it's telling our body to absorb a certain vibration. But mental, emotional, spiritual realms have that as well. So through meditation, through prayer, through fasting.
Yes, fasting is a very big topic.
Yeah, so you can throw all your food and water away, and in terms of medicines, we're talking about trying to cure diseases and help out with diabetes and inflammation and whatnot. Sometimes going back to nature, doing what our ancestors did. Sunlight, breathing, detoxing through the sauna and sweating, movement, fasting are all primary before food and water, before supplements. And this is all secondary or tertiary behind quality nutrients. And so I think there's a hierarchy of how to operate the human body. And being in an environment that's conducive to that, surrounding yourself with people who are conducive to that as well.
Because you can be eating the best foods, just like some of the very financially rich people, but they're surrounded by extremely toxic environments, extremely stressful situations that they're in. That is not very natural. They have the best food, but they're still very unhealthy.
Right. And that's where health is holistic.
It's not just the food.
Right. Absolutely.
Nor is it just the environment. It's a balance of everything together that makes you live a holistic lifestyle.
Absolutely.
And in balance.
Right. And one thing I've been loving is eating food with people. It completely changes it. When you cook, first off, cooking your own food, so you can take control of the ingredients. Cooking with your friends and family, and you sit down, and it's very popular in traditional cultures as well. Sit together as a family to eat. But nowadays, modern day Americans.
That's the traditional way of doing it.
Of course, we've done that.
In our tradition in Islam, they say it's best when you at least have one person with you.
I agree. Because when we eat alone, especially in front of a screen with microwaved meals or driving in the car.
Microwave itself is a whole other topic.
Of course. But that completely disassociates us with the food because.
How so?
Food is the great connector, and it's what brings us all together. It's the one language that we all speak, right? So might as well.
Way of putting it.
Yeah, right. So it's everyone loves good food.
Yeah.
And so,
regardless of where you come from.
Yeah, we're taking the joy out of food, whether it be the orthorexia about the what nutrients are in it, or the toxins, or the chemicals.
Being too focused on labels. Is this organic? Is this cage-free? And
just grab it and cook it well. Make sure you enjoy it. Spend some of your free time to add garlic and onions and make sauces and cook your own food.
Get to know your food.
Exactly, and then bring your family around it and share it. There's something a lot more gratifying to food rather than just the nutrients. Let your body take care of the rest of absorbing it. Have a good detox regimen, so just in case you get some pesticides into your dinner, you're able to clean them out. Like you said, your body's self-regulating. And focus on the bigger picture. Focus on the love that you have with your family and the joy that food can bring you,
Because some people, let's say, they can't afford a certain level of food.
Right.
But they're so in love with the environment and they're so connected as a family. They grow up to be very healthy people.
Correct.
Like some of the major basketball players, they grew up on food stamps.
Of course.
How did he develop that amazing body?
Right.
While he was eating the lowest quality food, he has the strongest level of
That's very
physical
true.
fitness.
Right.
So that also contradicts the people that say, oh no, we must eat this and everything needs to be of the purest quality. Okay, what about this guy that just came out of the worst situations and he's extremely powerful?
Correct. Exactly. Because there's so much more that goes into the body than just what's in our food, right?
Yeah.
And talking about certain labels as well, and kind of a good rule of thumb, if you're in the grocery store, like you were asking about different types of eggs, because you stare at the egg aisle, there's like 50 different ones, all different prices, and you think, oh, the healthiest ones are the most expensive, but the best phrase to look for is pasture raised for eggs. For beef, I like to get grass finished beef, because grass-fed beef. Finished.
There's
Correct.
a difference between grass finished and grass fed.
That's correct. Yes.
Didn't know
so
that.
because you could raise your cows like Kerrygold butter. You can have them on grass for the majority of their life.
Yeah.
And then you bring them to the feedlot and they give them a bunch of corn and soy and they fatten them up. Then they slaughter them. But since they were grass fed.
So they didn't lie when they said grass fed.
Exactly.
It's just not entirely.
Yes. So
that's very sneaky.
In Ireland, that was big lawsuits for like Kerrygold butter, that nice grass fed butter.
Yeah.
They were finished on corn and soy. So grass finished means that from calf to death, that cow was always on grass. Which is really good. And
valuable piece of information there.
And then they sell frozen. There's a great brand I like called Force of Nature.
Okay.
And they sell frozen.
That's the name of the brand?
Yes, like bison, venison, beef with actually liver and heart that's mixed in. It's a frozen.
Yeah, liver
pack.
is very potent and very beneficial for.
So I've been liking to get that recently. And for milk, you could actually find it on Craigslist. You could actually find local ranches and farmers and
you seem
find raw
to
milk.
be very in alignment with Craigslist. I find a lot of scams there. I was looking for housing recently, and
there is scams for sure.
It's full of scams.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe someone will scam you with some pasteurized milk instead. But
I never bought food off Craigslist. I was just looking for housing.
But there's actually a great website called like Raw Milk Finder, or rawmilk.com, and you put in your zip code, and you can find all the raw milk in your area.
Rawmilkfinder.com.
Yes. Right. And there's also another website I recommend people go to called EWG.org, or Tap Water Database. And you type in your zip code, and it shows you all the pollutants that are in your water.
Depending on your zip code.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's called the Environmental Working Group Tap Water Database. It's really cool. So I recommend people see that because you get to see fluoride, bromines, all the chemicals. Then
that can also inform your decision on which filter to buy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when
I was in Egypt, the guy would always ask me, sorry to cut you off.
Oh yeah.
They'd always tell me, where are you living? Depending on that, they decided which filter to give me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I didn't know those details that you're talking about.
Right, because there's sediment in the water.
I knew about fluoride and whatnot, but I wasn't that into it.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I just want clean water.
Yeah. And so I think with supplements, with food, with any of these, it's about having context. It's for you, for your genetics, your ancestry, and your digestive system, your metabolism.
Your build-up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What works best for your needs. And if you're a healthy individual, you might not need certain supplements.
Yeah.
Whereas someone battling with diabetes or other types of inflammatory diseases, you might want to focus more on a nuanced approach. And so I think one of the biggest messages is that rather than seeking advice from others, of a doctor or this influencer or whatnot, you have to do the research yourself.
Yeah. And see what aligns with you.
Exactly.
And what your body needs. Because we don't all have the same needs nor the same structural buildup. We have a lot of similarities, yes, but that doesn't mean we require the same needs.
You're right. That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah. And to wrap things up, how can people get in touch with you? Where can they buy these products? And
absolutely.
More about getting in touch with you.
Yeah, so we got a great website. We're posting blogs. We want to focus on lifestyle branding as well to help people get and feel their best selves. And so obviously we're growing and sourcing these products from the Hawaiian Islands, but we ship around the world as well.
Okay. Is this available on Amazon or?
Not yet. So we actually have a very small volume. So we're focusing mostly just online. So our website's hawaiianmineral.co. .company. And then we have an Instagram as well. We're going to be promoting some great information.
Yeah, I'll be putting all of that information in the description as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you're mainly available here in Kauai during the farmers markets.
That's correct, yes.
And also the Princeville night market.
We do that one as well. We are in Hanalei and Princeville, a couple different towns around here in Kauai. Because my main reason,
Hanalei farmers market, because there's also one in Princeville.
Yes,
and
exactly.
when is that? Friday or?
Saturday morning, 9 to 12. And the main reason we do farmers markets is just to engage with people and hear feedback. We like to give out samples. We like to share it and talk with people about health and hear their health problems and see how our things can assist.
So it's also a form of research.
It is, exactly.
Nice one.
That's so the main thing is
smart idea.
Yeah, and seeing what people need. Talking with individuals, who are dehydrated. Like, what can we do to make sure they feel their best?
Very big theme around the world, not just here.
Very much. Yeah, and so it's nice because Hawaii is the center of the Earth. We're literally the most remote inhabited archipelago on planet Earth. We're in the middle of the ocean, and people from around the world are traveling here for 1 week to have a nice vacation. And I have the opportunity to meet them,
observe,
learn where they're from, what they eat, what they do, what their health practices from Germany, Australia, South Korea, around the world. And so it's really a pleasure that I'm able to introduce myself to all these amazing people, including you, because you were someone who came in. I had the amazing opportunity to connect with you, hear your life story, and I appreciate all the time.
I mean, there's a lot more that we can keep discussing, but let's keep this compact for one episode, and perhaps we meet again and we have another episode. You do some more research, and we have new topics to discuss. There's always new information to share, and new levels of knowledge and wisdom and clarity to have.
Absolutely. You should come back to Kauai. You're welcome to come here anytime. And it's nice.
This woofing idea is not a bad idea.
You should join.
And something I'm gonna look up. Although right now my situation is a little bit different. I'm going back to California to work on some business there.
That's perfect.
And, but this is valuable information to have for the future. You never know what might happen.
Absolutely. Maybe I'll come and visit you. And
you're very welcome.
Woo!
Perhaps this
it's a good sign.
Was the wind telling us this was a great episode. I'm very happy with all the information that we unpacked and talked about. You were very eloquent with it too. And for the people that were listening to this, would love to hear your feedback on something that you've learned or something that you would like to acknowledge or that you've benefited from this episode. All the information about Lewis is going to be in the description on how you can get in touch with him, where you can find him in the Friday farmers markets here in Kauai. And Lewis, it was an absolute pleasure to have this interview with you.
Absolutely.
I look forward to more.
I appreciate it. I'm really grateful for your time in this amazing environment and the outlet to share this information. Man. And more to come.
Yes,
Fantastic. Sir. Aloha.
Ladies and gentlemen, the end.
Mahalo.